Welcome back to my series, How AI Changes the CISSP Without Changing the CISSP. In the previous session, we talked about Domain 1, and if I had to put it in a sentence, is how we make security decisions responsibly. Now let's talk about Domain 2, Asset Security. This domain looks at what it is we're actually protecting. It looks at how I identify what needs protecting, where our assets are, who uses them, what classification do we need to allocate to them, what categorization, how they impact the organization, how we maintain it throughout the entire data lifecycle or asset lifecycle, from creation all the way to destruction. Now let's add AI to the mix. According to the IC2 AI guidance, in this domain, we have to think about things like where the data comes from. So in the past, we could have trusted data that we got. People in the organization did their own research and produced data. Great! But now we have external models. We have to think about how the models were trained. Are they trained externally or internally? What training data sets they used? How could anyone impact the data going in? How do we identify and protect against bias, poisoning, etc.? Because we know that, like any other data set, garbage in, garbage out. If we can't trust the model, we can't trust the output. So in plain English, AI enables us to create new assets in a heartbeat. And it creates a lot of new assets, but we still have to protect them. We have to think about that when we aggregate data across the organization, if we are producing a report that is supposed to go to the entire organization, and we using AI, data that was aggregated in a high sensitivity level, we might be exposing data to people without the right need to know. So here we have a combination of Domain 2, thinking about the actual classification of the data, and Domain 5, Identity and Access Management, thinking about concepts like need to know. So these are just a few of the things that we have to take into consideration here. And normally in Domain 2, we think about protecting the data throughout the life cycle and make sure that it stays accurate and reliable and maintained and handled. But when you add AI to the mix, suddenly impacting the data, changing the data, adding things that shouldn't be there becomes easier than ever. And this makes this domain even more important than it was in the past. Think about a company that is utilizing AI in order to enable it to detect fraud. Now imagine that an attacker manages to impact the data set that is used to train that fraud detection model. He already poisoned the data, so the model is using things and he knows exactly what patterns exist in the model, so he knows how to bypass them. The AI models themselves are the assets. We have to protect those assets. We have to think about which models we're going to use, how we're going to review them, how we're going to maintain them, how we're going to maintain privacy and intellectual property when we're utilizing AI models. So this is an asset on its own. We have to think about these assets and how we connect them to our own assets. Now let's see what this could look like in the exam. An organization develops an internal AI model using sensitive customer data and proprietary business information. Which of the following should be the primary asset security concern? Of course, the answer here is B, protecting training data integrity and privacy. The most important concern here is not speed or skill, it's protecting the assets themselves. In this case, it's private data and proprietary data. So we have to make sure that when we train the model, we don't accidentally leak it outside. The big takeaway when it comes to AI in Domain 2 is understanding that suddenly we have a whole new kind of assets, and assets are created much faster than in the past, and we have to train the models, make sure that the models are reliable and we can use them, make sure that we don't expose our own internal data to external parties with the model, make sure that the life cycle is maintained just like any other asset. In the next video, I'm going to dive into Domain 3, Security Architecture and Engineering, and see how AI changes the way we design secure systems. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video in the series. And if you want even more CISSP tricks and tips and breakdowns and summaries and participate in the masterclasses, etc., you can join Cybermania for free. Check out the description below. See you next time.